Okay, so I've pictured this. We've got sort of some different consumers and producers whose use and production technology we've sort of pictured. But to be clear, there's nothing sort of necessary about like the individual people that I've described for you. Right? Like this could represent the national oil market. This could represent the global oil market. In which case, each individual is actually representative of thousands of individuals, right? So there's nothing particular about the details that I'm sort of adorning the story with, just to help get a sense of the intuition. But notice that there's a point here. There's a point here where the lines cross, right? And this is the competitive market equilibrium point. And we're going to label this Q star and P star to describe, the special point here. And I'm going to tell you some things and then sort of explain them. This is where a competitive market will clear. And this has a special property called Pareto efficiency, and we're going to get into that. But what's sort of special here? And I'm going to tell you a little bit of story about to add to this story. And let's imagine that this oil market is something that gets set up on a month-by-month basis, like again and again and again. So that it's fairly stable, right? So then we can start to think about the kinds of transactions that are likely to occur and the kinds of transactions that are likely to not occur over time. And so I've described supply as private marginal cost, which means that we can think about a whole range of transactions on the supplier side, where for a given amount of oil, the price that could be commanded would not meet suppliers' costs, right? So I can sort of trace out this area here, where these suppliers, if they get prices less than that line, they're not breaking even. So that's unlikely to occur in this market in the long run, right? We can also think about the willingness to pay, this maximum willingness to pay, and we can think about, well, this whole area here, the consumers of oil are unlikely to purchase at that level because it exceeds what private benefit they receive from oil, right? So we've got sort of a whole range of this price quantity space, these like logically possible transactions in the market that we know are not likely to occur, right? Now let's consider a point that's in this interior sort of set that we're still allowing. And let's have this point. Oh, I can't use my watercolor brush. Let's consider that this point is right here. Now, at this point, we've got a price that's being fetched that's above P star, and we've got a couple of areas here. Now, if I was to sort of mark suppliers in orange and let me mark demanders in this sort of purple. I don't know, what is that? That's not purple, that's pink. Then there's a quantity of money that is like the deal that folks that are consuming oil get, that they get a pretty good deal, right? Because they're willing to pay up at that demand line, but they only have to pay at, let me label this. So let's say that this is P prime. At P prime, they're getting a pretty good deal, but you know what? So are the suppliers. They just need to earn this much down here, but they get a price way up there. Now this is called producer surplus. And this is called consumer surplus. I think you can see that. And so the consumer and the producer surplus, like at that quantity and at that price, everybody's super happy. They've gotten a great deal. Like happy and enough that, you know, here the town is like, well, boy, it seems like this oil stuff is pretty good stuff. And, you know, the neighbor here is like, well, maybe I should get that truck because, like, look at how much money I could make, right? And so that drives entry into the market here of all the consumers that wouldn't have found it useful back at that original, you know, to start with. And so all of a sudden, there's this quantity, right? And the consumer surplus gets a little bit smaller and the producer surplus gets a little bit smaller, but there's still, you know, considerable room for a deal, right? And this competitive pressure and market entry, frictionless market entry, basically leads to this point where, you know, there's a special equality that holds here. Private marginal benefit equals private marginal cost.